welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to be talking about what in the world is going on in light of Bible prophecy. Now, I have an old friend on the radio. We go back a long ways. Prophecy Club started in 93, and it was about either 93 or 94. He started coming into meetings in Wichita, Kansas, helping us with meetings. He asked if he could put out his newsletter on the table, and my general rule for that is no, we don't allow anybody to put anything on the table, but with him I made a special exception, and I did. 18 years now at the audible voice of God called him to start a mission church where he helps the poor and the homeless for 18 years now. He's also been doing his own radio program for 16 years, had hundreds and hundreds of guests. He's also my researcher. Now, other people, he sends it to them too, but I like to call him my researcher, which, by the way, if you want to have some of the best information sent to you in your email box every day, send an email to elcm@messiahsbranch.org, elcm@messiahsbranch.org. Pastor Dan Catlin, welcome back to the Prophecy Club.
Well, I'm so glad to be back with you, and I just love those words. Looking back on these years, it's almost like I grew up with those words. Welcome to the Prophecy Club, where we come and research Bible prophecy. Just so fascinating to me to hear those words after all, during these years. But anyway.
Well, hey, I think one day soon Prophecy Club is going to explode. Right now, a lot of folks in America don't think they need to hear from God. Prophetic warnings, the watchman, Trump is in, and everything is just fine. Speaking of that, tell us what you think is going on.
I want to talk a little bit about Trump's attitude. A lot of people don't understand Trump's attitude. They say, well, what is he? Is he going to turn into a warmonger president? And what's going on? Are we going to be overloaded in war, so to speak? I'm a researcher. I don't just take what somebody says. I go and look up the root of it, find the original, and I go back. I see why they made the decision. Now,
okay, hang on. Let me interrupt because they don't understand what you just said. When you say researcher, see, they think, oh, I'm going to scan around on the internet for 5 or 10 minutes. You research hours every day. How long do you research?
Minimum of 6 hours a day. Minimum, very minimum.
Yeah. I'm going to say I get between 10 and 20 emails a day from you every day.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. I want to let them know. So when you say researcher, their research is probably not on the level of your research. Go ahead.
It's like if you sent me one sentence and said it's cold outside, I'm going to come at you and I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, well, why did he say it's cold outside? What's the temperature in Dallas? Well, what was the temperature yesterday in Dallas? Why would he say that? Has he been outside yet today? Or is he just guessing from something he's seen on TV? Well, if he just saw it on TV, then that means it's not standard I need to look at. I need to look at the TV program that he was looking at and go back. That's how research works.
I love it, brother. I love it. Keep going. I love you, brother. Keep going.
So, well, I never ever, that goes back to my childhood, I never wanted to be wrong in something, And so that's what led me to wanting to be right. So I started reading everything. I read, most people go to a doctor's office and there's nothing but Wonderful Women magazines in there. I read them cover to cover is because I'm able to talk to anybody on just about any level because I know about it. You understand what I'm saying? Information to me is
I know that
treasure.
if I hear something and I'll email you and say, hey, Dan, is this true? Man, I mean, within 30 minutes or sometimes even 5 minutes, you say, absolutely not, and here's why. That's a spoof, that's a fake, blah, blah, blah. This is what you already know.
Well, it's just what I do. And it's a gift, realizing later on, at a young age, I didn't understand spiritual gifts. The time that I spent with the Prophecy Club in all the meetings, and by the way, those meetings, people really don't know what they're missing because there's a special thing going on in there. Not was it just that they were interacting with the Prophecy Club, but it brought groups of people together from different walks, but they were spiritually together, so to speak.
Amen.
Prophecy Club meetings was an incredible thing. It was an event. People didn't just come to see the speaker or to say hi to Stan and Leslie. They came because of the certain kind of spiritual atmosphere and the things that they could expect. So there is so much more to it. So my time there, really anointed me. And in fact, at one point, you anointed me at a prophets and something else meeting. I know prophets.
Let me clarify. He is saying anointed. I anointed him as a prophet. He wasn't saying annoyed. He wasn't annoyed. He was anointed.
But, you know, a prophet isn't a prophet unless he annoys somebody.
That's true. I better be quiet on that. I better be quiet on that. Okay, move along. Say, what do you think is going on out there with Trump?
There's a couple of different things going on with Trump. So, you know, I watched this election very closely, and I jumped on the Trump bandwagon almost immediately. I felt in my spirit that he was going to be, that was it. He was going to be the president.
Yeah.
So naturally, I wanted to know everything about the man and to see if he was fake or not. Because, come on, here's a guy that's just been on TV, you know, and he talks truth. So the truth is in his words. Trust his words, because he does mean what he says. So let's go with this. All of a sudden we've seen, boom, man, you know, he said he was going to stay out of Syria. He said he was, during his campaign, he says, in fact, he got on Obama a couple of years ago. He said, you're stupid for getting involved in Syria. It's a quagmire. Don't do it. The other day, people said, well, he bombed Syria. And even some of his strongest people that are on his side, what's he doing? Trump's getting to be a war president. What's all this about? He campaigned against that. They just didn't listen to him close enough. Today, he dropped the world's largest bomb that's ever been dropped that's non-nuclear on tunnels in Afghanistan. They're being used by the Taliban and ISIS. And so now he's used the world's biggest bomb that's ever been used, except for a nuclear bomb. He's bombed Syria. A lot of people are screaming, well, oh, this guy's going to be a war president. What do we have to look out for? If you're old enough to remember, I'm 62, so I'm not going to pick on anybody about age, but if I go back to my childhood, I remember in my childhood when the United States said, we're going to do this, and if the people didn't stop doing what they were doing, let's say they were invading a small country, and I'm not even going to pick a country, but they were invading a small country, and the United States says, no, you shouldn't be crossing our border, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. If you do it, we're going to do this. Well, if the people continue to do it, then we blew them up. We stopped them with overwhelming force. This is the message that Trump said that he was going to go back to. He said he was going to go back to those days. It's just like in a schoolyard. If you go to a new school and you're a kid and you start to get picked on by a bunch of different kids, the way to stop the bullying is you find the biggest bully and you hit the biggest bully. You take that biggest bully out. Then your threat works after that, because if somebody starts to pick on you, say, you better stop or I'm going to knock you on your, you know, and the people stop because they know what you did before and know what you're capable of. 8 years, we've had Obama that has had no threat capability. I mean, when you say, we're going to do this, like Syria, he said, you crossed the red line. Well, that didn't do anything. Trump is trying to establish who he is. He means what he says. As far as North Korea goes, after the president came from China, zing. After he came the other day, he was shocked. During their dinner, Trump even bragged about the chocolate cake he was eating while the bombs were being dropped in Syria. And he says, oh, by the way, to that president, you know, we've just bombed Syria. To show him something, that you need to jump on the bandwagon because we're not going to tolerate North Korea. He goes home, and what does he do? He sent 100, and this is a fact, it's not a fake fact, but it's a real fact. He sent 150,000 troops in two different groups, so 75,000 a group if he was splitting it evenly, to the border of North Korea.
Now, that's the president of China sent 150,000 troops to the border with North Korea, between North Korea and China, to clarify that, yes.
Yeah, yes, sir. The border of North Korea. And he says that it's for medical purposes. Well, if Trump drops something on North Korea, then immediately there's going to be a rash of refugees trying to come out of the country. Apparently, the Chinese president has taken him serious, that he is going to do something to North Korea. Now, Trump keeps saying he will not tell us until after he does it. I like that in a guy because he said, I'm not going to warn him and tell him what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to tell you about it. If North Korea launches another test missile, all options are off the table. He could very well take out North Korea, and we do have SEALs training right now to go in and take out that president.
Okay. All right. Now, when you say take out Korea, are we talking about probably not several nuclear bombs obliterating the nation? What we're probably talking about is a strategic strike upon the capabilities of launching some kind of an attack on North Korea's neighbors. In other words, exactly where they're launching these missiles from, it would probably be taken out. Is that what
Absolutely.
you're saying?
Yeah, that's okay. What I mean. If that goes on, we probably will send a SEAL team. And that's conjecture, but we do hear that there's a SEAL team training to take out the president, if you will, of North Korea. But I don't think there's going to be anything retaliatory at all from the Chinese. Everybody does this. After going in and meeting with Trump, they can hate him, and they walk out amazed by the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, countless people that just, really during the election said some really bad foul
Yeah, they
things
walk in an enemy and they walk out a friend.
Absolutely. So he has this great nature. Okay. Now then. So I don't think there will be anything, like I say, retaliatory, from China if we launch something against North Korea. Having said that, so where's all this going? This may have something to do with it, it may not, but it keeps coming back to me and coming back to me and coming back to me. There was an article that came out from Israel, and it was talking about how, and it happened like right before Syria was hit by President Trump. It was Russia recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. No other countries really did that. We were talking about it, but nobody else really did it. So he came out and he recognized that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. President Putin did. He said with a catch. The catch is that that's West Jerusalem and East Jerusalem will be the capital of the Palestinian state. These are very significant words. Said by one of the leaders that, well, as we all know, I mean, it sure looks like Russia's part of that lineup of nations that we see in Ezekiel 38. This is very significant because the way I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, does not Jerusalem have to be divided when Yeshua returns, of course?
Joel 3:2 says they will part my land.
It's still very significant. And I trust you as a teacher more than I do most out there. But I have heard it said over and over, and
we'll be right back after this message. The next speaker at the Prophecy Club is Brian Melvin. He was an atheist that drank contaminated water and died. He tells what it's like to die and stand before judgment, then be sent to hell with demons tormenting him. Worse than your worst nightmare. First talk is Hell in a Box. Topics: reliving my evil past, what it was like to die, first tricked inside a cell, tour of the pit, woman arriving in a cell, sex offenders in hell, rescue by Jesus. Then he was taken to heaven. Next talk is From Hell to Heaven. Topics: life after hell, the PSTD of hell, translated to heaven, match it with the Bible, Jesus the Son of Man, land of liquid love, field of reunion and reconciliation, know everything in heaven, the grand estates, the river of life, glowing for 3 days upon his return. That's Brian Melvin, Sunday morning, April 30th, at the Prophecy Club, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. Be seated at 8:30, speaking from 9 to noon. No charge. See you there. And now, back to the program.
But I have heard it said over and over, and by some prominent people. Okay, but let's per se, here is a window to what is going on right now. We've had, ever since they have, that President Trump came into being, we have had the rabbis in Israel. They believe, now, the whole concept of Messiah with Jews, I'll give a real quick lesson. Number one, the Jews believe that there's two Messiahs, Messiah ben David and Messiah ben Joseph. They don't realize that either one of them have came yet, okay? Well, Messiah ben Joseph, will come first, and he will actually be there. It points to him in Ezekiel that he would be there and he would build the temple. They believe he's a man. They don't believe it's supernatural being. They believe he's a man. So they believe that Messiah ben Joseph is going to stand up at any moment and the temple's going to be rebuilt, because that's what it says in Ezekiel. So they've been screaming ever since Trump came into office for him to partner up with Putin to bring stability to the area and to build the temple. Now then, let's go back to Trump. Trump just talked with the Jordanian president the other day, and he came away, like I say, most people go in, I don't like this guy. They walk out praising him. And he is willing to work with other Arab nations for the first time. They're recognizing Israel has a right to be there. And they are calling forward to stop the violence in the Middle East for the nations to, we're talking about the Middle East nations, to recognize Israel as a state. This is very prophetic what's going on. Well, I can't quite put my finger on all of it exactly because, the hardest thing that you can research is what God's going to do.
Okay, let me ask you some specific questions here. What do you think is going to happen with North Korea in the next 30 days, your best guess?
My best guess that it could look like even with the next 24 hours that if they try to launch a missile, there will absolutely, the missile site will be blown off the map. I think that North Korea, one way or another, will be put under control within the next 30 days. I do not believe they have. If they were existing on their own stand, I'd be worried about them maybe sneaking an EMP off, or unless they've got something like that planned. But you've got China, on the other hand. See, here's what you look at. So if China's thinking about war with the United States, why did they just go through all the trouble to now we're going to work out our differences between trade and all these other things, and they're really happy about being with Trump? Well, if they were worried about North Korea or a war with, over North Korea, they wouldn't be doing these other things. And so China is being positive, even if North Korea isn't. So I look as North Korea as, yeah, we're going to do something about them. I think it will only strengthen our ties with China, but we'll move on past it. It could go the other way.
All right, next question. Okay, so I'm told that, and I heard this from Lindsey Williams, and I think there was another article, maybe even I heard it on Fox News too, that the meeting between Trump and the president of China, Xi, I guess is his name, was a really good meeting, and they walked out smiling. Is that what you've heard?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next question. Some people are saying, at least the Russians are, and Assad are both saying, well, it wasn't Assad that pulled the trigger on that gas attack, that was actually rebels, and that it was set up so that America would begin to try to take Assad out. And the reason is to allow oil to flow over Syria, and so some companies can take over some land that supposedly in the Golan Heights, which is actually part of Syria, actually can be drilled and processed and sold. So any truth to any of that?
There's a lot of truth in there. Number one, the whole thing over Syria in the first place is over an oil pipeline that Hillary and Obama had huge interest, mostly Hillary. They wanted to run a pipeline through there. And the reason that Russia stepped in, even though they want the warm water base, and Syria has always been their ally, still they're wasting a lot on Syria, and it's over not allowing, because right now, if so, that will replace Russian oil. If that's allowed, right now oil is dominated by Russia in the Middle East. That's a point of control that they have, even with Europe. They would lose that if this pipeline that was proposed, I can't think of the name of it, but at the first of the conflict it was exposed, But yes, you're absolutely right over the
So you're
pipeline.
saying that the real scoop behind Syria, they want to get rid of Assad so that they can have their way with their oil plans, to put it simply.
Absolutely. If you get rid of Assad, then they figure then Russia has no reason to stay, unless they're just going to take the country over. You understand? Then this pipeline gets built and it puts Russian oil not out of business. And Russia is suffering right now. But let's go with this. I do not believe Assad had so much to lose. Why in the world would this man go when he had everything on his side with Trump being in president? Why? And I mean, really only the Father knows, but I could put an insight in it. He didn't do it because Trump said there is no way. He got Obama on it. He said, look, when Obama first started messing with Syria, he says, that is stupid. Do not go into Syria. It's a quagmire. You've got no interest there. America has no interest there. Stay out of Syria. Well, why would he do the one thing? And that's what Russia wants. That's what Russia wants. They want to keep the pipeline, their pipeline safe. They don't want one drilled in Syria. They want the warm water base that they're using and the use of the air bases in Syria as a strategic place. And it makes them be the new bad guy of the Middle East.
Okay,
let's
let's bringing in the suitcases, the suitcase of nuclear bombs secreted across America. Do you see that fitting in here?
I do, but I know all the research and everything on those, and I do believe that those are here. I just don't think that now it would be. I don't know who would set them off. I don't know who has actual control of
international bankers. Which, at the end of it, that's the heart of all of this. This is all about money and oil, and money is oil, and oil is money. Okay, so all right, now let's jump to Iraq. The big bomb that just went off in Afghanistan. Is there something going on with Iraq and ISIS? And Trump said he was going to destroy them. So what are the news reports saying about all that?
The news media right now is shocked. They're right now getting their ducks in a row to say something about it. But I can tell you this. It goes back to the same thing. Afghanistan. We've been losing with Obama in Afghanistan. President Trump does not want to stay bogged down there. He's told their leaders that you need to buck up and help and do this war yourself. Well, nobody's listening. So he says, I'm going to get your attention. And so he dropped the world's largest bomb, other than a nuclear bomb, today on the Taliban and ISIS tunnels in Afghanistan. He's showing, he's doing it like a boss. He's showing the world he is the boss. Yeah, that America doesn't want to be quagmired down in anything, but we're not going to stand for it.
But it still really, really bothers me because we are getting fires burning towards war heading in several directions. You remember?
No, Stan. Stop.
Okay, go ahead.
If that's your chain of thought now, when you start a fire, when there's a fire, if you're a forester and you go out and there's a huge fire, how do you stop that fire, Stan?
Yeah, I got it. Okay, we're going to build. So you're really saying he's trying to stop war?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. Let's go back to what I said about the schoolyard. He's the new kid at the schoolyard. People starting to pick on him. They're testing him. He comes back with a massive show of force. They will say, yes, sir. You understand?
Well, I hope you are right, brother. I hope you are right.
Well, because, okay, so why this? I mean, it could go out a whole bunch of different ways. It could go out the way that other people are thinking, that all of a sudden we're in war all over the world and massive. I don't believe that, because I believe I believe in the Bible. I believe in Bible prophecy. Obama was brought in for many different reasons. I bring that he was judgment on this nation. Beyond being judgment on this nation, he was judgment on the world. But there had to be certain things set and changed in the Middle East and other places to advance Islam and to change the, we wouldn't even be talking about any of this if Obama hadn't became president, because Obama caused the Arab Spring, which got rid of dictators in the Middle East that people said, oh, we're so bad, but come to find out, they were the ones keeping their foot on the neck of all these radicals. And when they were taken out of the way, this is what we have in the Middle East. But it's a realignment of things for the finale of things towards the nations of Ezekiel 38.
Okay, and another question. Okay, there are a lot of folks that are saying that we're in a season of good times. Do you think we're in a season of good times, i.e. Trump? And if so, how long does that season last? And then what comes after that season closes?
I believe that we are in a good place with Trump. I really do. And it has to be because, and now I can't say exactly what comes after next, because, when the Father says this, I mean, you know as well as I do, to him, a blink of the eye is 1,000 years, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But looking at it, I think that America is going to come back prosperous, and we're going to really see it before the end of the year. Prosperity. You're going to see a lot more of these little things that happen to shut this up. Nothing is going to take Trump out. All the garbage in the world is going to take Trump out. Just like one of the elders at the church told me, I was worried about Trump during an election. He said, don't worry about it. He said, you think that Trump is put there by the Father? And I said, I absolutely believe that. I think he could very well be the answer to the call of the people that are praying, because there are a lot of people praying in this nation, not as many as there should be. Okay.
Okay. Well, we've got just a moment longer. Tell the folks if they want to get hold of your news service, how would they do that?
Just get a hold of me at elcm@messiahsbranch.org or go to the website, prophecyhour.com.
And if they want to listen to your radio program?
Actually, if you go to the hub, prophecyhour.com, you can find out all about us, our ministry. There's a thing on there to subscribe to the emails, so on and so forth.
Okay, well, in the meantime, thank you very much for being on, Pastor Dan. Have to have you back again.
Thanks. Glad to be on, Stan.
And so it's been a lot of fun discussing Bible prophecy. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The next speaker at the Prophecy Club is Brian Melvin. He was an atheist that drank contaminated water and died. He tells what it's like to die and stand before judgment, then be sent to hell with demons tormenting him. Worse than your worst nightmare. First talk is Hell in a Box. Topics: reliving my evil past, what it was like to die, first tricked inside a cell, tour of the pit, woman arriving in a cell, sex offenders in hell, rescue by Jesus. Then he was taken to heaven. Next talk is From Hell to Heaven. Topics: life after hell, the PSTD of hell, translated to heaven, match it with the Bible, Jesus the Son of Man, land of liquid love, field of reunion and reconciliation, know everything in heaven, the grand estates, the river of life, glowing for 3 days upon his return. That's Brian Melvin, Sunday morning, April 30th, at the Prophecy Club, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. Be seated at 8:30, speaking from 9 to noon. No charge. See you there. We have put the collection of the best of the 2016 DVDs together in an awesome gift offer. First, Miracles in Pakistan. Pastor Masih tells the story of 23,000 Muslims that he led to Jesus in Pakistan. Then in his DVD Visits to Heaven and Hell, tells about going to heaven once and twice to hell, and it will scare. And then the third one is The Babylonians Are Coming, his 9 dreams that God gave him about judgment on America. Then Bree Keaton talks about explosive prayer strategies, emergency prayers that work. Finally includes Lindsey Williams' new DVD, Trump Speaks to the Elite, and how Trump changed things and the new plans of the elite. 5 DVDs valued at $168, all available now for a gift of just $75. Helps us stay on radio, okay? That's valued at $168, all for a gift of just $75. prophecyclub.com, 785-266-1112. prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. The best of 2016. Order now. For a limited time, the Prophecy Club is offering Michael Rood's Chronological Gospels and the corresponding map. Michael Rood explains how God instructed him and guided him through countless scriptures to finally compile the corrected chronological Gospels. He explains how he found the corrections to many of the unexplained verses, misunderstood verses, and Old English words, outdated. Now he's updated to modern English. He's quick to point out that he is a King James only man, but he has taken great care not to change a meaning, but rather to update with the correct word so we get the modern understanding. He puts all 5 of the Gospels, including Revelation, in chronological order, showing that the ministry of Jesus was in fact 70 weeks long, not 3.5 years long, which has caused many problems of understanding. Michael claims he has made all corrections, and this will bring a massive new understanding to previous errors and confusion in some of the verses. For a limited time, Chronological Gospels available through Prophecy Club for a gift of $65. He also offers an 18-inch by 4-foot map of the Chronological Gospels so you can quickly and easily find a reference and put many of the pieces of the puzzle together. Gift of $16 for the map. Chronological Gospels, gift of $65, map, gift of $16 at prophecyclub.com. prophecyclub.com. Order today.